BowTie barbecue has always been a work of passion. It takes time, skill, and a blend of perfect temperature, wood, smoke, and meats. We just took it up a notch. Taste the passion. BowTie Barbecue, 6724 Waters Avenue.
Coming to you from a soggy Savannah, Christian Gokel alongside the head football coach of your cadets, Danny Britt. This is the Danny Britt Show live from a place where it is not. It's beautiful inside. BowTie Barbecue. Smells good. It's warm. It's dry. You should get out here any chance you get, but specifically on Thursdays at noon for the show. Coming off of the final regular season game of the year, one that I know there was scenarios in which you could have lost it and potentially made the playoffs. One that felt like a must-win for momentum and just clear head going into the playoffs. Big 44-22 win over region rival New Hampstead. And Coach, bringing it in here, man, it feels good. It feels like, A, that game was like 10 years ago
right
at this point, but B, it feels like a different vibe than just a couple weeks ago.
It definitely does. The team is in a really good mental state right now. As we were saying before we went on, when we lost to Ware and Stephen went down, and it was just it was a horrible feeling, horrible aura.
Yeah.
And a lot of things just kind of happened, negative things that we had to deal with as a staff and as a team, and we dealt with it, and everything's kind of falling in line. The kids are excited about what's ahead of us.
Right. And again, going back to that win, don't want to skip over that and look to the head playoffs just yet. 44-22 against a team that has put up an absurd amount of points and thrown for an absurd amount of yards so far this season. And coming into this one, Coach, it kind of felt like New Hampstead, like a lot of other teams at this point in the season, figured out who they were, and who they were is they're going to throw the ball 90% of the time.
Right.
Rayshawn Truill is an outstanding quarterback. They've got a couple of really, really talented receivers. I know you couldn't talk about it too much last week prior to the game, but what was the game plan going up against just a complete air raid team?
Yeah, and like I said in the post game, when you decide, and obviously Coach Hoffman had decided after the first few games of the year that they were going to spin it, they were going to live or die with Truill, and I'm not sure if it's Truill or Truill. I don't know which one it is.
Depends on who you ask.
Either way, he's really good.
Yes.
How about that? But that makes him really dangerous because, hey, he throw a couple picks, so be it. He's going to keep spinning it, and he is good. And number 21, Maxwell, is a really good football player. I talked to both of them after the game and told them that I hope it meant something to them and help in any way I can because they are superb high school football players.
Yeah, I think both of them are college players for sure. Why Truill doesn't have more offers, I don't know if it's height or what, but I mean, he can sling it with anybody.
I'll tell you why is because he doesn't have the look, and people have gotten, in my opinion, too caught up in that. He will end up somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably smaller than he needs to be. Will be an All-American. That's what Coach Hoffman and I were talking about this before the game. And he'll transfer somewhere and tear somebody up. That's just what's going to happen. He is a superb quarterback.
I told Kevin just because there were some plays you guys gave up to them, but I mean they were running some NFL concepts out there, and especially the last touchdown. Just you don't see that at the high school level. But it's like watching them, you're like, those are guys who have run 10,000 routes together, and at some point you just can't defend that.
And again, that's like I was saying. If you're going to live and die with that, which they do, it makes it dangerous because you had asked earlier what our game plan was. Obviously, we had a pretty much play with a nickel concept because of Isaiah Jones and his abilities. So we kind of have that all the time. But then we had a dime in, and putting Bubba Frazier in and Marquis in, and extra DBs have had a more of a rush package with John Lilly at end. So we did that, and we're able to get a lot out of it, and certainly got 2 turnovers. Should have had 3.
Right.
Which is Estabrook just misjudged the ball. He jumped 400 feet in the air, but just jumped a little too early. But then made one I think the next quarter and did a really good job of that.
Now I want to stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I guess coming into this one, it felt like strength against strength. I think your guys' pass rush and your secondary is really strong, and obviously they wanted to sling the ball all over the place. Defensive line, obviously third had a big game, but we named Cam Cody just our overall player of the game in that one. And I just thought his ability to crush the pocket time after time after time was really significant.
And he did, and it it changed some things that they wanted to do because the offensive line, their offensive line was moving backwards.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with Cam. And he is just a dude, and he showed it again. Now I think he ended up with a sack and a half, maybe, or a sack. And but
3 quarterback pressures though.
Yeah, 3 pressures, and just he was moving that line every single play.
And interesting, he lined up at defensive end a few times,
Right.
but just talking to Kevin during the broadcast, when they just completely abandon the run game, you can kind of free him up to just pass rush.
And that's what Coach Houston has done a good job with, knowing that, trying to just use his abilities and everybody's abilities to the best that we can.
Right. And again, the pass rush got there all night. I feel like, though, you guys now have 6, 7 guys, maybe 8, that you feel pretty comfortable rotating in there, and that's got to be a big deal.
We do, with Isaac Scott didn't play because of his kneecap just keeps coming out, and they're trying to rehab and constantly getting better. So I hate it for him. But when he's out there, he adds another guy, and then got a number of guys. Got 2 freshmen, Jameer Lee obviously starting, and Aaron Brown, and then Paul Thompson, of course, is continuing to do his thing. Then you get Lilly. He brings some athleticism to it, obviously length. So just a number of guys that are making plays and helping us out in there.
And then the secondary, obviously, like we said, it felt like it was strength against strength, and I thought Wyatt Estabrook had a outstanding game. He was there for a majority of those plays. Probably could have 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
He ends up with 1, and then 1 was just unlucky where he missed times that goes through his hands, and usually that's an incompletion, but it just happens to go through his hands right into the belly of a receiver for a touchdown. But it seems like over the past 3 or 4 weeks, he's getting more and more comfortable with just kind of hitting that drop step, about 3 or 4 yards, reading the quarterback, and attacking the football.
Yeah, and it's taking a little while, and you're right. He's we're trying to get them when they are deep to just play, play center field, play over the top and of everything,
right,
and go get it. And they're both very athletic, he and Mackay. But Wyatt is getting more comfortable in that, and then made some good plays. He ended up in cover 3. In certain occasions, and dictated by their personnel,
right.
And then he was a lot man. I think it had a pass breakup that could have been an interception. Now it'd have been a really, really good interception, but made some plays.
And I know a guy that we talk about on here a lot just for his athleticism, but I think talking about players who should be probably getting a little more press with the recruiters than they have is Makai Williams. I mean, when you talk about a big-bodied safety I think it's the best compliment you can give somebody where it looks like they're running in slow motion, but they're running past people. He had another big interception and just was kind of flowing past people.
Right.
And it looks like a dad playing with like little boys on the front yard.
Mackay is superbly athletic and just very, very good instincts as a player. I told him last week, we were in practice. He was playing over the top in our sink coverage and broke on number 1 and just completely messing with the scout team player. He broke over there, never took his eyes off the scout team player, jumped up with his left hand, caught the ball, and never brought it to his body, and started returning it for a touchdown. And I'm like, dude, you make me so mad that's that easy.
Yeah,
he is so athletic, and what's so funny is you would think he would be this just completely arrogant kid, and sometimes I have to pump him up to give him more confidence.
Right.
So it's just a different dynamics, but he's a very good football player.
And my favorite part about him, no problem running the alley and just completely taking your hat off.
He will strike you. I mean, it's like a cobra is what I tell him, and because you think again the way he's so smooth and he looks like he's hardly running, and then wham, he brings like he's 230 pounds.
I told Kevin during the broadcast, I felt like it's like the Bruce Lee 6-inch punch. Like it's just, it doesn't look like he's got that much force behind it, but then all of a sudden the other person's going backwards
every time.
But again, big performance from the secondary, specifically the safeties in that one. And the linebackers. I know playing a team that's going to throw a lot can be frustrating for those guys in there, especially Larson Little, a guy who just likes to get in there, play run gaps, and hit people. But I thought they did a better job than maybe in some of the games past of just staying in their zones.
Right.
And they might not make the play, but they take away the easy read for the quarterback.
They actually did. They did a very good job of moving their feet, moving their hips and getting in the areas they were supposed to. And we played a good bit of man too, and they have to pick up man or get after the quarterback. Colby had a sack,
Right.
by blitzing. And what another thing about Larson Little is he communicates all of it, front, the linebackers and the secondary. He makes sure everybody's on the same page. So just him doing all of that is important, even
Right.
before he even has to make a play.
And it feels like they're just getting more and more comfortable as an entire unit, the 11 out there at a time. I know it's something you kind of pick up from just watching football for years, but you can tell a defense doesn't know or feel comfortable when they're all kind of standing still and looking at the sideline and figuring it out.
Right.
When you got a defense that's just kind of moving like an amoeba and they all know what they're supposed to be doing and they feel comfortable and don't really have to think, that's when you know you got a really good unit.
Yeah, and you're definitely calling it right there. And that's happened, I'm going to say, maybe in the past 3 weeks. You can really see where that's starting to happen, where they're communicating, they're calling things back and forth. They're showing one thing and moving to the next, because I'll get frustrated with the secondary, and then communicating the headsets, and
Right.
like they're showing Britt, they're going to get to where so they're doing a really good job with it.
Flip it over to the offensive side of the ball. You guys put up 44 points in this one, and it just seems like week after week, Amari Burst is getting more and more comfortable. And obviously, this is his best game so far, 15 to 22, 292 yards through the air and a touchdown. I mean, just you as a football coach going back and watching his tape from the second half against Ware to now, how much growth have you seen, and specifically where has it been?
Yeah, no, he is. It is unbelievable. And again, Coach DePhillips has done a tremendous job with him and everything that he's helped him. He's shifted the offense. Again, didn't change the offense. It's still the same schemes, but just shifted the priority plays to what is best for Amari, and then gives Amari saying that actually. So comfortable. If you're feeling comfortable with stuff, you can go perform it so much better. So, has just done a great job with that. Amari is getting better every single week and runs very well. The team is confident in him. He's confident in himself, and just really, really proud of what he's done.
And one thing that makes a quarterback's life really easy is having a true X at wide receiver, a guy who can go up and get it, over 6 feet tall, fast, runs the full route tree. And I'm not bragging, but before the game, I was like, I really feel like number 7 has been quiet these past couple of weeks. And all of a sudden he breaks out 10 receptions, 145 yards and a touchdown for Josh Washington. It felt like it was going to take Amari getting a little bit more comfortable in the offense. But once he did, him and Josh were truly going to shine.
Right. Definitely. And that's what it's been good, is it's been different people.
Right.
You got, he's really, Gannon's been his go-to guy. And again, nothing, I won't say nothing. We have certain plays that are just designed, hey, go here, but for the most part, it's not typically designed, just go to this person, take what they give you, make your reads, and happened to start off with Josh. And then I think it just kind of got hot from there, and everybody was feeling it.
And you can see Amari specifically is getting more and more comfortable. When you see a quarterback hitting 15-yard dig routes,
right,
the comfort is starting to be there, where he's really actually kind of reading that defense. But in the run game as well, you guys go for 231 yards on the ground. 100 of that comes from Stanley Smart on just 13 carries, and it just seems like week after week, I know we keep saying it, but week after week, he's really starting to find his rhythm now as a true running back.
He is running completely different now, completely differently than he was at the beginning of the year. We felt like that was going to happen. We've talked about that several times, and it has. He is putting his foot in the ground and getting north and south and running through people, which he should. And then he really is. He's feeling it. Bubba, proud of Bubba, even though he got the Team Me Award this week. And what that is, the person that puts the team above himself. Well, usually that's not given to a Bubba Frazier.
Right.
It's usually given to a lineman, a backup guy or something like that, because but Bubba is the epitome of that. It's a superstar. Yeah. And we got a package where two different packages just for him, and then we get him the ball, but he didn't score the touchdowns. He was lower on the yardage, but he celebrated with those. You could just see it. I watch for things like that. You can see him celebrating every other kid, and because he's a team guy. So
I think above all else, he just wants to win. But
Bubba
also
wants to win.
in this game, receiver, running back took some snaps at quarterback in the Wildcat, played corner, and played on special teams. So, I mean, I haven't seen him exhausted too much, but I could see in the fourth quarter there was a little bit of just hands on the knees from Bubba Frazier, but stayed out there. I never saw him tap the helmet to come out of the game. So, yeah, the team me completely makes sense in that one. But sticking with the offense, I think, again, you shift quarterbacks, you kind of change up the plan a little bit. The offensive line, I thought, before Steven got hurt, was really starting to gel and just kind of understand what they needed to do. I feel like that's kind of starting to happen again 3 weeks, 4 weeks now into having Amari behind center.
Yeah, definitely. They've gotten better. I think they've gotten better just as individuals, one, as you should at this point in the season, but also I think narrowing down the scheme helped them, really be able to say, okay, this is how we're blocking. This is what we're doing. These are our run plays. So they're blocking it better and better and better. And that just makes sense. Right. So yeah, they're feeling good. I thought they did a really good job last week of protecting when they needed to protect, and then being physical in the run game to really get the backs rolling.
And one thing I liked was moving Jacoby Ward around, and specifically moving him to guard when you guys got down inside the 5-yard line. I think everybody in the stadium knew where the football was going, but when you got 330 pounds, you just got to kind of find a way. I think I forget the offensive lineman that Nick Saban was talking about. I want to say Alex Smith, but I know that's not the correct name. But he had a big old offensive lineman one of his first or second years. Going into halftime, he was upset because he's like, why don't we just run behind this guy? And that's kind of what I felt like. When you got inside the 5, just make it really simple. Run behind 72.
Yeah, and obviously we're trying to, we're pulling out all the stops and trying to be – we realized it was playoff time last week. So do whatever it takes to win. And yeah, that was a good move, and get behind his big self and make it happen, even if they know what's coming. So be it, got to stop it. So – yeah, they did a good job. Again, the line, I thought, did a really good job with, continuously improving, communicating, moving, and getting where they're supposed to be.
And I thought, and it sounds weird saying it for this guy, but because he's been so almost perfect all year, but Connor Ferguson felt almost like a bounce back game for him. Goes out there, bangs a school record field goal, and then is 2 for 2 the rest of the way as well. It just felt like he put it behind him, the miss against Perry, and was able to come out and execute.
He did, and it was a bounce back. I mean, we were all very disappointed, not in him, but I mean, he was disappointed in missing the field goal.
It's just almost shocking when he misses it.
Right, and it, it was a bad moment, but he was upset with it. I mean, we had the conversation and said how you handled it. Well, he handled it and came out and had probably the best night of his career. So very proud of him for that. And the 52-yarder, it was funny. I thought it was 49 because, and then it was 2 down territory.
Yeah.
All right. Because we were a little bit of no man's land.
I love it. Some inside baseball. Here we go.
Right. So it's 2 down territory. So I told AJ that. Then I look and at Coach Pat Parker. I said, how's he feeling? He said, Britt, he's feeling real good. I said, God, he's hit it really well. So I went, sorry, AJ, we're going to kick it. He said, okay, understood. Well, I didn't realize we lost 3 yards on the run play. So I sent him out. I went, oh my God, how far is that? But he nailed it, and he's got the leg, and we've seen it plenty of times. I mean, confident that he can kick it that far. It just changes the landscape a little bit when you get that far out. But very proud of him.
Well, some of my favorite things in high school football is the hour before the game when people are warming up. A player's really good when like half of the opposing staff is watching them.
Right. And
usually it's a wide receiver or a defensive lineman or a quarterback, but there'll be 3 or 4 coaches just kind of watching Connor kick because he's nailing them from 55 during pregame warmups, and you just don't see that a whole lot at the high school level. No,
you don't. He hits the ball really well. He's put a lot of energy into it over his lifetime, and he's not the biggest guy, so it's surprising a little bit when you see how strong he is. Yeah. But he's done a really good job, and I can promise you that young man has worked his behind off for years to get there.
Oh, Coach, you guys make the playoffs coming in as a 3 seed. I believe that's regardless of what happens tomorrow night with Ware and New Hampstead. So coming in as a 3 seed, so we'll be hitting the road to take on a 2 seed Southwest DeKalb coming up in a couple of Fridays from now. But we're going to come back, talk about what this bye week looks like next, right here on the Danny Britt Show.
BowTie Barbecue has always been a work of passion. It takes time, skill, and a blend of perfect temperature, wood, smoke, and meats. We just took it up a notch. Taste the passion. BowTie Barbecue, 6724 Waters Avenue, Savannah. BC Brothers Moving is Savannah's most trusted moving service. From residential to commercial to packing supplies, BC Brothers does it all. Let BC Brothers' energetic, trustworthy team wrap it, pack it, and move it for you. Check out BC Brothers online at bcbrothersmoving.com or give them a like on Facebook. At Benedictine Alumni-owned Stacked Firewood Delivery, we're all about the best premium firewood, conveniently delivered in manageable stacks at the right price. We're talking kiln-dried, pest-free firewood. You see, our custom stack is equal to about 10 fires. Choose oak, cherry, hickory, or mixed hardwoods. Stacked Firewood Delivery. Go to stackedwood.com. That's stackedwood.com.
And then along came Walker Jones.
Mom and Dad drove a Chevy. They're Mom and Dad too. Generation to generation, Chevrolet is America's heritage brand. And the best place to buy your Chevy is Walker Jones Chevrolet. They'll treat you like good friends and neighbors should.
Hi, I'm Joe Drawdy. I'm the General Sales Manager at Walker Jones Chevrolet. We've got it all. Why shop anywhere else?
Chevy. Together, let's drive. Walker Jones Chevrolet. Memorial Drive in Waycross and online at walkerjoneschevy.com. Ace Hardware is celebrating 100 years of helpful, and Island's Ace Hardware is Savannah's own. 318 Johnny Mercer Boulevard in Wilmington Island. They're our hometown, locally owned Ace Hardware. From A to Z, they've got it all to help you get things done. Island's Ace Hardware is a proud BC sponsor.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
This is the Danny Britt Show live from BowTie Barbecue. And, Coach, it's been an interesting season so far schedule-wise. You guys now heading into another bye week prior to the playoffs.
Definitely. And just like on the football field, winning in the financial game takes strategy, focus, and the right team behind you. Whether it's retirement planning, wealth management, or navigating market shifts, Abel's Iron Moore & Associates is your trusted investment advisor, helping you build a game plan for long-term financial success.
There you go.
Success.
No long-term stress.
Yeah, no long-term
success.
Call Jeff Iron and you'll lose the stress and have success.
Well, speaking of success, I know you guys got to look forward to a bye week here before the playoffs, but it kind of goes back to a conversation you and I have every year where this group of seniors has never gone or has always gone at least to the semifinals.
Right.
And played in a couple state championships and won both of those state championships. But what's so valuable to not just being a good football team, but a good football program are these extra weeks now that you get. And I think it's interesting. It's a lot of teams played this past Friday, weren't in the playoffs. They're done. They turned back in their uniforms. You guys get a bye week and then a week to prepare for a team. So that's 2 weeks on top of what you already had in the regular season. And if you keep winning what you guys typically do, it's going to be another 5 or 6 weeks of practice. You stack that up over 4 years for some of these guys. They're getting 5 or 6 years of high school football in 4 years. Definitely.
And we felt like, that's been a big advantage that we've had for years now is that the guys have played just a whole lot of football, practiced a whole lot of football. And really when you get to this point, it's extremely beneficial because you're not going out just trying to work them to death. That's early in the year.
Yeah.
Now you're really learning. You're getting specific things, specific teaching to get better. And so it's really that you don't have time the first half of the year because you're just trying to get them functional and get them the best they can be this week. Now you're really getting to the fine details of things. So I think it's been a big advantage for us over the years, and hopefully we can continue that. I know, having this bye week, which has been such a weird year, we've had multiple bye weeks and we've handled them all a little differently, but it is really good for us, just in the details of things.
And if you're looking for a specific example of like how much development how much is really happening over 3 or 4 weeks, look at Amari. From that Ware game to now, it's a completely different quarterback. So it's a chance for the seniors to continue their high school football career for another week, but for the juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, it's a chance for them to, again, be going into their sophomore year as almost like a true junior in terms of the amount of practice they got.
It does, and it really changes things. And you mentioned earlier the seniors have never – semifinals is everybody –
the minimum.
The minimum. And, two rings already, and we talked about that Tuesday night at my house. We tradition, this week we have the senior night over at my house, and all the kids come over, and we have a barbecue and just have a good time together, and then we talk about things and where we're at, and not so much goal setting as what can we do to get to where we want to be, where those goals are. And they all really started realizing, I think, holy cow, we've just been very fortunate, and we've won championships, and now it's our turn to lead. So I think it really hit home for them this week. So hopefully, that it'll be a new brand of energy coming into next week.
And just doing the math, if you do make it to the semifinals again this season, that'd be 18 extra games that these guys have played over the course of their high school career. That's almost 2 more years of high school football right there. So obviously it's a big deal because they get to play those extra games for the seniors, but for the underclassmen, just massive in terms of development. And I'm curious, Coach, I know it seems week after week there's some guys kind of sneaking now in and getting 5 or 6 reps during these games, and not just in time that you're trying to run out the clock at the end of the game. They're getting some big-time reps in the first half and the third quarter. Who are some of these guys that we should be watching out for that maybe haven't played a ton so far but are going to have an impact on the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few of them, and the best way to see that is check out my special teams and, just kind of somebody new you'll see out there, and that's what happens is they start showing out, they start maturing, they start doing some things, and we start getting them on some special teams and them playing on the field. And a number of guys that have done that. Cole Henderson's one who's a sophomore. The sophomore class is a very good, talented class. And Cole got in there the other night as we were running out the clock. 8.5 minutes run off the clock, by the way, to get it down to the 1. And then, I thought it was the right thing to do to kneel on it, not score another one. But he is just really, really coming along. He's very quick. Had 2 horrible injuries, broke his collarbone twice, 2 different times, fought back from that, and he's very athletic, very, very good young man. Aaron Mallard, who's been starting, but you can see how we're using him more and more and more, and how he's an extremely athletic, versatile kid that can do a number of different things. Aaron Brown and Jameer Lee on the defensive side, we've talked about them getting in there, making plays. Jaden Houston, he goes in there for Colby and does a good job. He's really good between the tackles. So just a number of guys that are ramping up their playing time.
Well, we talked about Mekhi Williams. There's another Williams too that it feels like he's just pushing for more time.
Marquis, he does a really good job and came in, was our starting. I guess it would be dime, the way we look at it, and really did a good job last week. And it's good that we've got that kind of depth that we can play those guys.
Again, a big game coming up, obviously, with the playoffs, but it's an interesting position you guys haven't been in too often, where you're having to hit the road early in the playoffs as a 3 seed going up to take on a really talented Region 5 that was won by an undefeated Marist. But then you look down, and the next 3 teams are all 7-3 overall, 6-2 in region, and they all kind of beat each other. And Southwest DeKalb was the team who just kind of came out on top of that pile and is the number 2 seed. But 3 really talented teams right there. And I kind of look at that region, and it feels like the region we just came out of.
Yeah, definitely a good region. Obviously, Marist was the cream of the crop in that, and very good football team. Southwest DeKalb, very athletic team. Do a lot of different things that can be a challenge for us. We'll be excited to work on that, and hitting the road, going up and playing. It's probably be Buck Godfrey Stadium, but we're not sure yet. We'll hopefully know that for sure before the weekend. And excuse me. We've played at home a lot, at the end of the season here. So kind of excited to hit the road a little bit. And a lot of times it brings your team together. They enjoy it. We take charter buses and, eat at really nice places and get to spend some time together. So it can be a positive thing for a team sometimes.
I was going to say, only your 4th true road game of the season. You started off with a neutral site game in Statesboro to start the year, but you guys 2-1. The only loss, 1 point to Buford. I'm curious how much that game, not just for what happened on the field, but the entire process helps now as you get ready to kind of make that same trip in the playoffs.
Oh, definitely it does. You go up and you play, at a place like that at that distance, which this will be closer than Buford for sure. But, and we've done it long enough now. I think everybody kind of understands, except for the freshmen. And here's what I've learned about most freshmen, especially at BC: they're lost the whole year anyway. Even the ones that are playing, they're still a little bit lost.
Kind of pull them
you just drag them along, and they learn on the way.
I think that's most freshmen in general, not just football or BC, but
probably
that's most 14 and 15-year-olds in general. But obviously, Southwest DeKalb coming up not this Friday, but next Friday. When do you guys, as a team with the players, start looking at them?
Monday.
Okay.
We don't. I do not believe now. Coaches, we've already done that.
Yeah.
But in our practices this week had nothing to do with Southwest DeKalb. It has everything to do with us and just general football and some specific things that we've noticed that we wanted to work on. I mean, Coach DePhillips even worked on team celebration of touchdowns.
Listen, you got to make sure everybody gets in there.
Well, and that's the thing is we looked on the film and there were some guys not celebrating with their team, and that's not how we do it. Yeah. Like we're all going to celebrate together, and you should. I mean, you work that hard, man. It didn't happen all the time. So there we working on us now. We had the annual maroon and white, sub-varsity scrimmage set for tonight. The monsoons have set in, so we're not canceling. It's very important for those, sub-varsity guys to get. They look forward to it. They enjoy it. They love talking trash about it. So we pushed that to next Thursday because of the weather. But so all of those guys will stay with us this next week and be a part of that. But we don't start looking at as a team with the kids till Southwest DeKalb until Monday. Any
traditions for the winner versus loser in that game, like beanie weenies versus steaks, anything like that?
No, we've never done anything. We've talked about it. It's fun because what happened, and we need to do something. In fact, I may get with the kids, the seniors, and come up with something. That's a good point. But the seniors kind of divide up, and I make them choose the team. Like publicly, like raise your hand if you want. And so they go to those sides, and it's a lot of fun for everybody.
That's great. Final question, and I'll let you get out of here, Coach. We talked about Coach DePhillips and a little bit of the game planning he has going into this. I think these past 3 or 4 weeks, just watching, it's almost like a culmination of his development and how good of a coordinator and a coach he is. I mean, it's rare that you see a guy scheme up open touchdowns where it's just like there's not a read where the quarterback has to kind of go 1, 2, 3 and come back to the decision. This is going to be open. Just make sure you're on time. I mean, that's next level.
Yeah, no, he is incredible. It pours countless hours into it. It always amazes me. I get messages on social media and people telling me, Lord, they'll stop me in a restaurant, wherever, and say, hey, you need to do this, or you need to tell this coach this. And I'm like, yeah, you're such an idiot. And I used to apologize for that. I'm like John Britt, my father now. I've quit apologizing.
There you go.
Man, do you know how many hours he spent on this? And he'll say he does draw up those plays. He'll tell the kids, this is when we're on this hash, when we're in this situation at this distance, I'm going to run this, and he will tell the quarterback, it will be there if they are in this defense. Yeah. If not, go to B. Yeah. And I'll hear him call it. I'll hear him say it. They're in the defense. Boom, there it is. It is pretty amazing to watch. He does an incredible job.
And it's all understandable. And what I like is if he does scheme something open, like Bubba Frazier, there's a play y'all have run a few times now where he just absolutely cooks somebody on the goal line. Right. And it's just the timing's not there with Amari. But you hear the conversation when we have the benefit of being in a booth with him, and he's like, hey, that's okay. We're going to come back to it, but we'll run out of this the next time. So it's the relationship he has with his players, but also obviously the scheme going into it has been really cool to watch. And, yeah, if you're anybody out there and you've ever felt like questioning the play calling on either side of the ball, I'm going to put it out there. Free range. I'll bring in a whiteboard in here, and we can bring those two guys in here. You show us what you want to do, but it might get embarrassing really fast.
It will, and I get it. People do that. Heck, I find myself doing it. I'm like, I'll question my financial guy, and I can see the look in his eyes looking back at me like, you do what you do, and I'll do what I do, and he's right because I don't know. I'm just guessing here, and that's what most people are doing. Even if they played JV football at Johnson, they are just guessing.
It happens. I would leave the coaching to the coaches and just make sure you're cheering and get on a bus or traveling in the caravan up to Southwest DeKalb next Friday night. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time here on a bye week on a soggy Thursday afternoon, but I know everybody's excited for next week in the playoffs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Go Cadets.